This week, a very sad time for Docker fans as Hawthorn wins the AFL Grand Finals.
457 visa holders fear the new education charge will burden them.
Corrective Services Minister Joe Francis announced a new commissioner for the DSC.
And Kenya President declares that the Westgate mall siege is finally over.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. A massive heartache for Dockers fans in the Fremantle CBD as Hawthorn snatched the AFL Grand Final victory at the MCG. Martin Wilson was in the cappuccino strip to capture the atmosphere.
Fremantle is in a sea of purple today as the city support the Fremantle Dockers, whom are fighting for their place in history in the 2013 AFL Grand Final. We've interviewed the Fremantle Mayor, Brad Petit, to hear what he has had to say for the team.
Yeah, there's an amazing buzz around Freo today. I think there's thousands and thousands of people who come down to watch the game all across Fremantle. It's really exciting.
The atmosphere here is electric as Freo fans show their support for the Dockers as they go up against the Hawks. It's been a very close game today with plenty of memorable moments. As all players have been fighting for their place in history and with everything to play for, with everything to win. The game was incredibly close, but the Hawks soared ahead with 77 points to Freo's 62 points.
A little piece of London has arrived in Perth this week as the Transport Minister Troy Buswell unveiled the new taxis to serve those who have disabilities. Shibs has more.
The iconic London taxi is coming to town. As part of his taxi action plan to improve taxi services in Perth, Transport Minister Troy Buswell has unveiled 50 new London taxis on Thursday morning.
So what we've set in place at the moment is a 4-year trial period of the 100 plates over the 4 years. That will enable us to assess the performance of the vehicle, response of the driver, and I think importantly, response of the travelling public.
These purpose-built cabs are designed to improve safety, comfort and accessibility. Built by the London Taxi Company, its TX4 vehicle can carry 5 adult passengers, has easy wheelchair access for disabled passengers, and has a number of accessibility features, including induction hearing loop, high visibility markers for the visually impaired, and a swivel seat for passengers with mobility challenges. Shibs, WMN News.
457 visa holders revealed their hardship as the government plans to charge them thousands of dollars for sending their kids to school. Some Labour MPs labelled the charge as a tax towards children. Here's my special report. Kiara and her family moved to Perth from Ireland 7 months ago, looking for a new beginning.
We came here in the belief that Perth was family friendly, a great place for our children, and that would give us the lifestyle that we'd hoped for.
But like many 457 visa holders, families from overseas who moved to WA were hit with a nasty surprise during this year's state budget.
And the introduction of a $4,000 per year public school tuition fee for children of 457 visa holders to partly cover the cost of educating these children.
Under the government's plan, 457 visa holders like Kiara, whom has 5 children, will pay an extra $12,000 a year just to send their kids to school.
Well, we won't be able to pay $12,000, and it leaves us in a kind of a catch-22. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband's on an average wage, $77,000 a year. Is his basic. He does get overtime, but that's not guaranteed, so we couldn't budget for it.
Labour MP Stephen Dawson criticised the Barnett government for treating 457 visa holders unfairly.
I think the Barnett government, seem to suggest that every 457 visa holder is earning $150,000 a year and working in the mining sector. That's not the case. Lots of people on 457 visas are doing, jobs where they're getting paid $50,000 or $60,000 a year. It's also the case that some of those families have got 3 and 4 children in their households. So, if you're getting paid $50,000 a year or $60,000 a year, and you now have to pay $10,000 for school fees, that's a great imposition, and it's very unfair on these families.
Meanwhile, Kiara and her family will have to consider their future in Australia, but their options are limited.
The possibility is that myself and the children might return to Ireland, and David would fulfil his obligations here, which is for the next 4 years at least.
This week, Corrective Services Minister Joe Francis appointed James McMahon as a new Commissioner for the DSC. Mr McMahon was a former commander at the nation's SAS regiment. Mr Francis believes Mr McMahon is the perfect candidate. On the other hand, the Minister also stated that he expects prison officers to have the highest standard of professionalism, after reports that custodial officers socialise with inmates.
Well, you need to have the highest level of integrity amongst prison officers, especially those who look after prisoners. I can't have prisoners who are drug dealers being guarded by prison officers who use and deal in drugs. It's just absolutely unacceptable. I'm not saying it is widespread. I'm just saying in order to instill public confidence in the integrity of the prison system, I think it's perfectly appropriate that prison officers undergo random drug and alcohol testing. If it's good enough for the Defence Force, if it's good enough for the Police Force, it's good enough for prison officers.
To news in Asia, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority warned that housing is becoming increasingly unaffordable for the average family. Despite the recent cool down of the markets, buyers are still affected as property tax remains unchanged.
The Hong Kong Monetary Authority said that property valuations are still high despite cooling of the market. Housing affordability for average families continues to deteriorate as the household income growth fails to keep up with the housing prices. In June this year, the price-income ratio rose to 14.7%, slightly higher than that of the 1997 peak levels. Gearing income also peaked 65%, well above the 50% long-term average. HKMA warned that if the mortgage rate increases significantly, the income leverage ratio will also skyrocket. Timothy Seow, WAMN News.
To World News, Kenya President emphasised that the 80-hour standoff at Westgate Mall is over. The Somalia-based Al-Shabaab rebels who are linked with Al-Qaeda claim that 137 hostages have died, despite the official death toll at 67. Meanwhile, authorities are trying to determine how the military group were able to transport the weapons and the ammunition into the shopping mall. And in Zimbabwe, 9 poachers have been arrested after 81 elephants have died. The authorities said cyanide was used to poison the elephants after the experts visited the popular national park. Reports suggest that the waterholes have been poisoned.
And finally tonight, the state government launched a new tourism campaign hoping to attract more tourists visiting WA. Tourism Minister Liza Harvey kicked off the promotion this Tuesday and believing this campaign can generate millions of dollars of tourism revenue for the state.
This is part of our Experienced Extraordinary campaign where we've highlighted the Northwest region and the Southwest regions of the state, and it's all designed around creating an aspiration or an inspiration for people to look at some of the beautiful landscapes that we have here in Western Australia and slot that into their holiday plans.
The national advertisement will cost $3.6 million, promoting Western Australia as the next tourism destination on TV and cinema from next week.
It's very beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Western Australia is a beautiful place. That's how the world looks tonight. More news on our website.
We'll see you again next week.
Good evening.